104.5 The Team, your home for New York Jets football. The man who covers the New York Jets for NJ.com, Connor Hughes, with us right now. Let's start with the biggest debate from that game. Austin Seferian-Jenkins, was it a touchdown?
It looked like one, didn't it? I mean, from everything that I've seen, I just don't know how you overturn the call. I think that's the thing, is that if this was called a fumble on the field, then I think that you just need to stick with the call. It was called a touchdown, so I think you need to just stick with the call. I didn't see, looking back on the replay, anything inclusive that would say, okay, this is absolutely a fumble or this is absolutely a touchdown. So I think you just needed to say, you know what, let's just keep it with whatever was called on the field and we'll make it work. And unfortunately for the Jets, it didn't go in their favor, but as Todd Bowles said, there were other plays in that game that cost the Jets certainly more than that one.
Yeah, you follow them as close as anybody, Connor. Do you believe that? Because I watched it, I thought that was the nail in the coffin.
No, I mean there were, in my opinion, other plays I think that made a significant difference. I think Buster Screen's interception, or non-interception, I should say, in the first half, which then ignited the Patriots' 24 unanswered points. I think that was a very, very big play. I think you can pick any one of the Jets' 3 missed opportunities to convert a 3rd and short in the first half with an opportunity again to take full command of that game heading in at half. Those are the 2 plays I think that stand out to me. Obviously, when you take a touchdown off the board, that's a big one. But at the end of the day, man, I mean, there were so many things that they didn't get right in that game that I think came out and made a really big difference that could have been the difference one. So I think if you're going to pick one play, I think the Buster Screen interception is probably just as big as the Seferian-Jenkins touchdown, non-touchdown. And then obviously the Jets' inability to convert some of those 3rd and shorts hurt them as well.
On the positive side of it, the Jets win that game. They're in first place in the AFC East. Even now, this matchup coming up with Miami, they can get their 4th win of the season. It's a simple question, but I'm still struggling with it. Why have the Jets been so good this season?
Well, I think that's I don't know if they've necessarily been good, but they're winning games. And I think the reason that they're winning games is because, unlike last year, they're a team. This is a Jets squad that is playing together. They're playing as one. They believe in each other. And they've rallied around this idea that people don't believe in them. And when you've got a group of guys that have been told they stink for about 6 months or so, eventually they get so ticked off that, they want to show the world, no, we don't stink. So they're beating teams that are right about on their same level or slightly below. They're beating them. They're playing sound football. And for the most part, they're not making mistakes. So I think that's kind of the big thing right now, is that the Jets just aren't making mistakes, because the thing is the talent efficiency that everybody talked about going into this season, they're still there. I mean, the Jets still don't have a very good receiving core. They still don't have many weapons on offense, even outside of that. On defense, they still have their flaws. I mean, they're definitely not getting to the quarterback. Arguably, their 2 best defensive players don't have a sack this season combined. So, I mean, the Jets still have issues, but they're winning in spite of them. And I think that's a testament to Todd Bowles.
Joining us right now on 104.5 The Team is Connor Hughes from NJ.com, covering the Jets.
Let's go back to that last point there. The best defensive players not having a sack. Muhammad Wilkerson, one of these guys up front. What has happened to him, and why is he struggling this season to get to the quarterback?
Good point. I mean, you look at him, and I think Brian Baldinger said this recently in an interview with another outlet, is that he's a guy that right now is almost like he's just expecting a 3-step drop all the time. So as soon as he gets to 3 seconds in his head, he's expecting the ball to be out, and then he's like, okay, well, I'm not going to get to the quarterback. And there are some issues. There are definitely some concerns, and I think that he's dealing with injuries, which probably plays a role. He's got a toe issue. He's got a shoulder issue. I mean, that's definitely going to take a toll on a pass rusher. But the fact is, I mean, he hasn't been the same player, and it's tough to say it, and you don't want to say it because it is a shot at a player, but he hasn't been the same player since the Jets paid him. That's a fact. He has not been that dominant force that had 12-something sacks in 2015 and was just disrupting and ruining games. I mean, you go back and you look at that 12-sack season, you look at some of the games that he played, there are games there with 3 sacks. There are games there with 2 sacks. And he doesn't even have a sack through 6 this season, and only 4.5 dating back to his last 24 games. So, there is something going on with Mo Wilkerson, and I don't really know how the Jets can change it or ignite a fire under him. Maybe it is sitting him for series or taking him off in important situations in a game to kind of get a message through that you're not performing and we need more out of you, and maybe that ignites a fire under him, because right now, I mean, the Mo Wilkerson that's on the field right now is not the Mo Wilkerson that Jet fans and Jet coaches and anyone associated with the Jets knew, the first couple years of his career, and he's certainly not the player that the Jets felt confident in awarding $86 million to.
Connor Hughes with us. Connor, when you look at the matchup with the Dolphins, what do you expect from the Jets?
A hard-fought game, honestly. I think that's what you're going to get from this team. Is that if we've learned anything throughout the first quarter plus of the season, it's that the Jets, they're not a team that is going to win pretty. These games aren't going to be 21-point wins where the Jets dominate on offense and they dominate on defense. The games that they win, they're going to win ugly. They're going to win games that aren't pretty. They're going to win them when they turn the ball over a couple times and they get a ball that bounces their way. I mean, the talent deficiencies again are still there, and because they are still there, that's the games the Jets are going to win. So against the Dolphins, that's kind of what I expect. I expect probably an ugly game, a couple turnovers from both sides of the ball. We'll see if the weather holds up, and if the Jets play their style of football, which is hard-nosed, sound, run the ball, control time of possession, eat up the clock, and do some things on defense, they'll win the game.
In that backfield, Bilal Powell seems like he's going to play. He's returned to practice. Matt Forte, is there an idea of who's going to be a lead back, or will you continue to see running back by committee for at least the longer part of the season?
You might have a little bit more of Matt Forte this week, although Bilal Powell did practice fully, so we'll see. I mean, he practiced fully on Thursday, which means he's going to practice fully today on Friday, and then he'll practice fully on, for their walkthrough as well on Saturday. So he should be good to go. He'll have a role. As far as who's the lead back, I think he'll just go back to a committee by approach. If there's 30 carries, maybe it's, 70%, 80% of those snaps are divided up between Bilal Powell and Matt Forte, and then Eli McGuire works in there as well. So we'll see. There are going to be touches there for both those guys. And, the Dolphins haven't been the best, I think, at shutting down running backs, if I'm not mistaken. So I think it'll be something along that. I think it'll be something similar to that in terms of where it's going to be a pretty even split between Powell, Forte, and then you'll get Eli McGuire worked in as well.
You said if it's an ugly game, the Jets win this. It's a football Friday. We'll push it even farther for you. Give us a score for the game this Sunday between the Jets and the Dolphins, which you can hear right here on 104.5 The Team.
Yeah, I'll go with 2017 Jets. I think actually no, nice. I'll flip that. I think it's going to be 2017 Dolphins. I honestly think that this is kind of the game that the Jets are going to lose. I think the Jets are probably right around par with what what kind of a team the Dolphins are, but it looks like they're a team in Miami that's coming off a really, really big win over the Falcons, and for the Jets, they're a team that's kind of coming off a really tough loss to the Patriots. I think when you have a young team like the Jets, that emotional loss starts to linger a little bit. It's not going to linger throughout the year, but I think it could linger into this game, which will result in a slow start for the Jets, and you could have the Dolphins take advantage of that early. So I'll go 2017 Dolphins. I think it'll be close. I think it's going to be a one-score game, but I think Miami's going to pull this one out when all is said and done.
Connor Hughes of NJ.com. If the final score is 2017, I'll give it to you. I'll just cut it. We'll go back. we'll air this again and make it sound like you were right either way.
Yeah, works for me.
Connor, thanks, man. We appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you guys for having me on.